record. Okay, continue. All right, I'm so sorry. Okay, so so we'll start here. I'll just I'll go ahead and I'll just make a new repository. So here I am. So again, I'm on GitHub and I'm posing as a student. So this is what your GitHub page might look like. And I'm going to go ahead and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a new repository. Okay. And if you already have a repository that you want to work with, that's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to call this a demo repository. I'll just maybe this time I'll click initialize this repository with a README. That's probably a good idea. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and create this repository. Okay, so when I initialize it, this is kind of what it looks like. And what I want to do is I'm going to clone this repository onto my local computer. So this is a repository that exists on GitHub, okay? This exists right now only on GitHub. And what I want to do is I want to clone this onto my local machine. So I'm going to click this button that says clone or download. And I'm going to clone with SSH. And I click this button, or I can highlight this to copy it onto my clipboard. Okay. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to come to kind of my Finder or wherever it is, and I want to kind of put it inside my documents. Okay. Now I have configured my Finder to be able to create a new terminal at the folder. Okay. Now if that is something that your computer is not able to do as a Mac user, what you can do is while you are in Finder, okay, you can go to Services, click your Services Preferences, and under Services here, okay, you're going to scroll down over to here, and one of the things here is Files and Folders, New Terminal at Folder. Okay, so this is a very useful thing, and so it might be unchecked. You'll want to check this. Okay, this is if you're a Mac user. Okay, and so so what I'm going to do is I want to clone it inside my Documents folder. So I'm going to just right-click Documents and do New Terminal at Folder. Okay, and so this opens a terminal window. Okay, that that I can work with. Okay, so right now if I hit LS to list off what's inside my folder, there's a Zoom folder and then a couple movies in there. And what I want to do is I want to clone my repository. So I'm going to type in Git Clone and I'm going to hit Control V to do this. I think right now it's going to give me an error because I haven't actually set up my SSH yet. So if I do this, it gives me this thing. It says permission denied public key. All right, and that means I have not set up my SSH. I have not told GitHub that this computer is allowed to work with my GitHub account. Right. So so what I need to do is I need to configure my GitHub account to have an SSH key. Okay. So what I do is on GitHub, I click my my profile here. I'm going to go down to Settings, and I'm going to come over here under Personal Settings. There's this spot here, SSH and GPG keys. Okay, and what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to add a new SSH key. Okay, we're going to need to add a new SSH key, and so I've written commands here, right here under Step 3, Important. Generate a new SSH key. Okay, so I'm gonna let's open this article up. Okay, and the command to generate a new SSH key is right here. Okay, now if you are not on a Mac machine, you can run these same commands inside Git Bash. Okay, so once you've installed Git on your computer, on your Windows computer, you can open up Git Bash and still run these same commands. Okay, so let me go back to my terminal. This is my terminal has this is where I left off, and it said I'm not authorized to do this. So what I have to do is I have to generate an SSH key. So I'm going to type in SSH-keygen. I'm going to type basically this exact thing right here, keygen-t RSA-b 4096-C quote, and I'm going to type in the address, which is my email address, ucla.edu, address associated with your GitHub account. Okay, so you need to use your GitHub email address, that account, and you're going to type that in. Okay, so I go ahead and I enter this, and it tells me generating public-private RSA key pair. Let me see if I can how do I make my text bigger? Let me make everything a little bit bigger. Sorry. All right. Okay. So it says enter file in which to save. Okay. So you don't need to enter a new name. I'm just going to hit enter. Okay. The default settings are good. Okay. So I'm just going to hit enter here. There's already a SSH there. That's there, and that's fine. So I'm going to overwrite. Probably for you, it's not going to ask that. It says enter a passphrase. I'm going to leave mine empty for no passphrase. Okay, enter the same passphrase again, which is empty. I hit enter, and it says the key's fingerprint is this, the key's random art image is this, and this is it's located. The public key is in users_miles.ssh idrsa.pub. Okay, so there's a few options here. One is I can navigate to this folder. Okay, and so I can type in cd tilde. This will take me to my default directory. Okay, my home directory. Okay, cd tilde, and then I need to get into this .ssh folder. Now the dot key needs to be escaped, otherwise it will think it's a wildcard. So I need to do a /.ssh, okay? And that puts me in the SSH folder, and I can type ls, and that shows the, it lists off id_rsa.pub, okay? And then to look at this, I can type in cat, which will concatenate this stuff onto the screen, and I can type cat id_rsa.pub, okay? And this is the public RSA key that I'm going to need to copy into my GitHub account, okay? So that's one way to get it, all right? Another way, if you're not comfortable navigating the command line through this thing, cd tilde and then going into cd /.ssh, another way you can do it is from inside your home directory here, okay? You can hold down the keyboard shortcut is Command-Shift-Dot on Mac OS, okay? So this applies only to Mac users. If you're a Windows user, I'll show you how to do that in a moment, okay? So if you're a Mac user, you're gonna hold Command-Shift-Dot, and that's gonna reveal all of the hidden folders. One of them is SSH, Command-Shift-Dot, okay? And one of them is SSH, and you can open up id_rsa.pub. If it asks you which program to use, you're going to select text editor, and you can see this is the public RSA key. Okay, so so you can highlight it right here, or you can highlight it right here. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm highlighting this. I'm going to hit Control-C on my keyboard to copy it, and then I'm going to come over here to my account. I'm going to and then click Add a new SSH key. All right. And it says the key begins with ssh.rsa, and indeed, if I check here, it does begin with ssh-rsa, okay? And I'm going to copy and paste this key. So this is the key that will let GitHub know that this computer is authorized to talk to it, okay? And I'm going to call this, this is my iMac that has this key, and I'm going to go ahead and add this SSH key, okay? And so this is how we do it, okay? Let me, if you are on a Windows machine, let me just show you how to do this, okay? So on your Windows machine, the location of your, so you're gonna inside a folder, wherever you are, you're gonna open up Git Bash. So this is a Windows machine, okay? So after you've installed Git, you're going to open up Git Bash, okay? And you're gonna follow that same command. You're gonna type, you're gonna follow kind of that same command of generating an SSH key. So you follow this, and you're going to type in SSH-keygen. I'm not going to do that, okay? Because I don't want to have to change my my key here, okay? So, but you're going to type in that command SSH-keygen over here, and then to locate it on your machine, you're going to have to go to under your PC. You're going to navigate to probably your C. This is the most common settings, okay? So under PC, you're gonna go to your local disk, C, and then go to users, go to your user account, and inside your user account, there should be a folder for .ssh, okay? And inside .ssh, you will have the ID rsa.pub, and you're gonna wanna open this with a notepad or some kind of text editor. You don't want to open it with Microsoft Publisher, okay? Even though it ends with the .pub, it's not a publisher document. You'll want to open it with some kind of text editor, okay? So you can always choose open with, and then under more apps, you can use Notepad or something like that, okay? I'm not going to show you my key there. Okay, so that's how you get it over on Windows. So that is the location of your SSH keys. Okay. All right. So let me come back over to my Mac computer. Okay. So so I have successfully added my SSH key. All right. And so now what I want to do is I want to try cloning that repository. So remember, what we were trying to do earlier was that I had created a repository on GitHub. We've called this Redshirt Prof, the demo repository, and I wanted to clone this onto my machine. So I'm going to go back here to clone, and I'm going to copy this onto my clipboard. Okay, and I come back here. Okay. And so it's important. I need to be back in my into the folder where I wanted to create the thing. So I wanted to clone it into documents. Okay. So so again, I can navigate using the command line here. Okay. And so cd tilde takes me to my home directory, and I can change directories to documents. So that's one way to do it, okay? And so I can do that there. Or if you're not, again, if you don't want to do that, so from within your home directory, to hide your hidden files again, you can just hit the same keys, Command-Shift dot to hide them, okay? And again, I can right-click the folder where I want to be, and I can do a new terminal at this folder, okay? So this is kind of the same. And you can tell which folder you are in because it'll say documents here, right? So anyway, I'm in the folder that I want, and now I can clone my Git repository. Now that I have created the SSH key and I have added it to my GitHub account, so remember under settings, I've added it there, okay? I can now perform the clone. So I can type in git, the operation is git clone, and I paste that command. So remember, so here's the address that I need, okay? So I've copied this. So I come to my terminal, I type in git clone, and then I hit Control V to paste, or Command V to paste that thing, okay? And now I hit enter, and it says cloning into demo, and then it ends with done, okay? So this time it works because I've given GitHub my public key, and so so GitHub is able to authenticate me, okay? And if I go back and check my settings and I check my SSH, it says, you know, last used within this week. So this key is now active, and I'm able to use it to get my what do you call it? My computer to talk to the remote repository. Okay. All right. And so now I am. So I've created this thing, and if I'm still in my documents folder here, and so I'm going to type in ls to list off these things, and we can see there's a new folder, a folder called demo, and I can change into demo. So I'm going to type in cd demo, and when I type ls here, the contents of this thing is just readme.md. All right, so that's all we've got. Nothing exciting. Okay, but now I can type in git status, and it works. Git status works because it says I'm on branch master. Your branch is up to date with origin master. Origin is the remote repository. Origin is kind of the shorthand way of saying origin is the repository on GitHub. So this is the GitHub repository master branch is what it's saying, okay? Origin is to say, you know, this is the remote repository that exists up on the screen. It's the remote repository origin on GitHub master branch, okay? All right, and again, I can go into my Finder and open up documents. This is my demo repository. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just like create a new document here. Okay, so under text edit, let's create a new plain text document. Okay, and I'm going to just type in hello. All right, and we are going to save this inside under documents. I'm going to save it inside demo, and we're going to just call this hello.txt. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, and so hello.txt is now inside my demo repository. And if I come back to my terminal, okay, I can type in git status, all right, and it says, hey, look, there's untracked files. Hello.txt is untracked. So, you know, what we learned yesterday is we're going to do git add, and we're going to type in hello.txt. We're going to commit this to the repository with git commit-m, and we're going to say created hello.txt. Okay, and we have created a commit to my local repository on the computer, all right? However, if I go to GitHub and I refresh this page, I don't see hello.txt. So what do I need to do? What I need to do is I need to push the changes from my local repository to the remote repository, okay? So I don't have, I need that. Let me just, so git staging area and remote diagram. This is, I'm looking for the, okay, so this is kind of the diagram I have. And so we have the working directory, the staging area, and the local repository. And so what I've done is, starting in my working directory, I did the git add, and then I did the git commit. And so it is committed to my local repository. What I want to do now is I want to push that to the remote repository on GitHub, okay? And again, because I am configured, I have that SSH configured, I'm going to be allowed to do this, okay? So if I check git status on my local repository, it says on branch master, okay? But then it says your branch is ahead of origin master, which means by one commit, which means I have made a commit on my local machine that does not yet exist on GitHub, the origin repository. And so what I want to do is I want to push the commits that are on my local machine to the remote repository, all right? And all I have to do is I'm going to just type in git push. Git push by default will have all of this stuff, okay? But you know, if you've done the GitHub data camp assignment, you might have to do like, you know, git push, you know, master and origin master and things like that. But but git push without any other stuff kind of will just default to do this, and it says writing objects, everything, and now it's done. Okay, and if I check git status here, it says on branch master, your branch is up to date with origin master, working on a clean tree. And if I come to GitHub and I refresh, there you go, hello.txt has now been created. Okay, and so so you can continue working on stuff, right? So if I do git nano, or not git, if I just do nano, nano is like within browser, not within browser, within shell text editor. Okay, I can just keep editing this. So I have hello, and then I'll say I'm adding a line here. Okay, and I'm going to hit Control O to write it, and Control X to exit. I can check git status, and it says hello.txt has been modified. So I'm going to do git add hello.txt. We'll commit this change, git commit -m, and we'll say added a line to hello.txt. Okay, and so that's what we do, and then we are going to so again, if I check git status, it's going to say I'm ahead of my my remote repository. I'm ahead of the origin repository. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push this. All right, and so this change has now been pushed. If I check the status, it's now here, and if I refresh this, then and I check hello.txt, it's got hello, and it says I'm adding a line here, and indeed we can see if I go back to demo, we've got initial commit and added a line to hello.txt. Okay, we have a question. It says I was able to set up the SSH key and clone the file, but when pushing it, it asks for my GitHub login info. Is that normal? When you created your SSH key, did you use your GitHub email address? And did you create a separate password or anything? All of these things, I don't, you know, some people might scoff, but you know, for GitHub, or for Git, I don't create any additional passwords for on these SSH things. So when you created SSH, I don't know if it asked you to create a password. I left those passwords blank, and so that won't ask. So I'm not sure why it's asking you for additional GitHub login info. I'm assuming you already added the SSH key. Did you add your SSH key to GitHub, your GitHub settings as well? Yes, okay. Maybe after class I can try to address some of your questions there, okay, if you're still having issues. All right, so this is how you set up a remote repository and allows you to get any of these things, okay? Now, it's possible that maybe you are working with someone else, right? Or it's possible that someone makes a change, okay? So here I can actually edit these files on the remote repository, right? So it says, hello, I'm adding a line here, and then here I'm gonna write, I added another line directly on GitHub, okay? So I'm gonna do this, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll just commit these changes, update hello, commit directly to master branch, okay? So, so that's fine, okay? And then if I come back to my, again, this is my local computer. So keep in mind, hello has been updated somehow, either directly on GitHub or somebody else, maybe you're working in a, with other contributors and they've made changes, okay? And so what we need to do, right, if I open up hello on this computer, it's still the old version, okay? So what I need to do is I need to fetch these changes, okay? And if I check git status, it says I'm up to date. But what I need to do is I need to do a git pull or a git fetch, okay? A git pull is a fetch and a merge together, okay? So I'm gonna do a git fetch, okay? And that says, oh, you know what? We have made some updates, okay? And so I can check git status here, all right? And it says your branch, now that I fetched the changes, okay? So the command here is git fetch. You fetch the changes, all right? So here's the diagram. If the remote repository has been changed, to get them to update to your local repository, you need to use a git fetch to fetch those changes, okay? And so, so it says your branch, your local branch, is behind Origin Master, which means the remote repository, the one on GitHub, has a commit has been made, and that's not that hasn't been updated. Okay, so we're going to merge our master branch with Origin Master. Okay, so we're going to do that, and it says fast forward. Okay. So we're going to merge our current master branch with the Origin master branch, okay? And if I check git status, now we are up to date. Our branch is up to date with Origin master. And if I check hello.txt in my local repository, it has the line that we added directly on GitHub. Okay. So, and again, maybe a shortcut, instead of having to do git fetch and git merge master origin master, you can also just do a git pull. Git pull will do both of those steps in one. Okay. I know that's a lot, but I just want to kind of pause here, and if you've kind of been following along, give me a green check mark. And if this is totally strange and bizarre and you have no idea what I've been typing or doing, give me a red X here. And again, to access your check marks, you're gonna have to pull up your participants panel. Okay. What is the diff between git fetch and git pull? Okay, so git fetch fetches the changes that have been made on the remote repository, okay? But it doesn't update your own local repository, okay? To update your local repository, you have to merge your local repository with those changes, okay? So you do a git fetch and then a git merge, okay? Git pull does both of those steps in one, okay? So, you know, there might be different reasons why you don't want your, I can't think of some right off the top of my head, but there might be some reasons why you don't want everything to be the same. So, the git fetch will change those things, and then the git merge puts them together. Git pull will do those two steps in one. I generally use git pull, okay? If I'm the only one working on this repository, I'll just do git push, and I'll just do a git pull. Okay, Yanhua asks, is there any difference between git merge master, origin master, and git merge origin master master? I'm trying, I'm not 100% sure. I think Git is often smarter. Do you need Wi-Fi? Yeah, you need to be connected to the internet to do a git push and a git fetch. If you are not connected to the internet, you cannot do a push and a fetch. So yeah, you can't push and fetch if you're not connected to the internet. Okay, a couple people gave me some red X's. Let me see. Matthew, Kim, and Mengtong Jiang. Do you have any specific questions? Is it just like I'm going too fast?
Can you please go a little bit lower, like a slower?
A little bit slower. Okay, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the Mac shortcuts I mentioned earlier. Okay, so there was only one shortcut, and that was to reveal the hidden files, and that was Command-Shift-Dot. Okay, if you want to see the hidden files in your Finder. Okay, and obviously if you're on a Windows machine, these don't matter. Okay, and then the other, I guess, shortcut is, or Finder options inside when you're in Finder. And again, all of this is being recorded, and so you can always go to Finder to review the video. But under services and service preferences, you can have the option to create a new terminal at a certain directory. Okay. Okay, it says I tried that earlier, but it didn't work, and the Finder option was checked off. So meaning it was already checked. So we have services under service preferences, and under services, you have the option. You want a new terminal at folder. You want that checked. You want that checked on. Okay. And then, and the way to open your terminal at a certain location is you have to right-click the folder, okay? Right-click the folder. So here for documents, I'm gonna right-click the folder, and at the bottom, there should be an option for new terminal at folder. You right-click the folder, okay? Emil says, to begin with, you created your SSH key by opening the Git bash by right-clicking in a specific folder. So that was on a Windows machine. So it's a little different for Windows and Mac. On a Windows machine, you right-click inside the folder and you say, create Git bash here. On a Mac, you right-click the folder icon. So you have to be in a higher folder and a higher directory, and you right-click the folder and you click New Terminal at the folder, okay? Okay, and then it says, will this mean that the SSH key is only connected to this folder? No, when you use that SSH command, it is going to create an SSH key in the SSH folder. The SSH folder should exist in your user account folder. So, so on a Windows machine, it'll probably be C:/users/your name. For mine, it's C users miles. And on your on a Mac machine, it's going to be under your home account. You're going to hit from terminal, you'll change directories to the tilde. Tilde is always your home account, okay? And inside there, it will be inside your .ssh folder, and the dot has to be escaped with a backslash. So you can do cd /.ssh and list, and it should be there, okay? So it says, I created mine just by opening Git bash from the desktop, and I've been able to do everything you did. Yes, this means the SSH key works for my whole computer. It works for your account. It works for your account, okay? So if you have multiple users on that machine, right? So some computers have more than one user using the machine. The other users won't have that SSH key. It's just for your account, okay? Okay, and it says, when I right-click, I don't get that option for some reason, but maybe I can clarify this sometime in the future. Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on with your Mac machine. You might just have to just navigate using you know, CD to change a directory, and LS to get into things. Okay, so CD tilde will get you to your home directory, and you can change directories into different things. All right. Okay, all right, so let me talk a little bit about forking a repository, okay? All right, so if you go to GitHub, or actually, if you go to our CCLE page, I have created a GitHub repository for this class, okay? Right here, GitHub/SmilesChen. So this is the professor's account, my account, okay? And this is going to be our class repository, all right? And so if you try to clone this to your computer, right? If you try to clone this, it's going to give you an error because you are not authorized to clone or to work on my repositories, right? So these are repositories that belong to me, Professor Miles Chen, and you are not authorized to work on these, okay? But you might want to get the course files, okay? So what you're going to do, okay? So remember, here I am on my my Redshirt Prof account. So this is pretending to be a student, okay? So I'm pretending to be a student, and what you're going to do is you're going to click fork, okay? So this is the class repository under SmilesChen. That's me, the professor. But then you're going to fork the repository. And so, and now we are going to fork this to Redshirt Prof, okay? So under Redshirt Prof, this has now been forked, okay? So under Redshirt Prof's account, okay, I have my demo repository, and now I also have a fork of Smiles Chen 2020 Spring Stats 21, okay? So this is gonna be the class repository. Okay, so so now I want to bring this to my local machine so I can look at files and stuff. So I'm going to click clone and I'm going to copy this to my clipboard, okay? And then let me go to documents. All right, okay. And I want to clone this, right? So is forking basically copying the repository? Yes, forking is basically copying someone else's repository, but also establishing a link there, okay? So forking will copy, you're copying my repository to your account, okay? But there's a link that's established. Okay, so remember, so I forked this. And remember, what you want to do is you want to clone your fork. So make sure it says your student account here, and you want to clone that. You do not, okay? Do not clone my account, okay? So me, the professor, do not clone the professor's account, but clone your, so you forked it to your account, and you're going to clone your repository here, okay? If the original repository has changed, will the forked one change as well? Okay, so I will talk about that in a moment, okay? So it does not automatically update, okay? You have to fetch those changes, okay? So anyway, so here I am in documents and I want to clone this. So I'm gonna type in Git Clone and I paste this, okay? And again, remember, you don't want this to say Smiles Chen, which is the professor's account, but you want it to have your username when you clone it, okay? So I do this, it clones it, okay? And that thing has been cloned, okay? So CD 2020, we changed this, okay? And this is now the thing, okay? So this is our local account, all right? So here's the, this is the important thing, okay? If you want, and it's only useful if you do this, okay? In Git, you can type in git remote -v. This will give you the configuration of the remote repositories. Right now, it says fetch and push are configured to talk to your student account. So this should have your name here, okay? And this will be origin, okay? And so this is your thing. Now, what we want to do is we want you to have the ability to fetch changes when I, the professor, okay, make changes. So I'm going to switch to my Windows screen here. Okay, so here, if I make changes, so let me go to GitHub, okay? So if I make a change to my, my repository, the class repository, all right? So let's say I create a new file, and this is gonna be kind of, we're gonna call this new.txt, and this will be the professor makes, we'll say adds a new document to the course repository, right? I can't spell repository. Okay, so we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna go ahead and commit this. Okay, so the course repository on Smiles Chen, the professor's account, has been updated, okay? And this thing shows up right here, okay? So now what you wanna do as the student, you want to fetch these changes. You want these changes to be reflected in your folder, okay? And so let me come back to the student screen, okay? And I might go over, all right, in time here. And so please watch this, okay? And so what we need to do is we want to fetch these things, okay? And so in order to do this, we have to configure our repository to understand that there are two remote repositories to talk to, okay? We have the remote repository, the origin one, that is on the student account. And then we also have what we call an upstream repository. And that's going to be the professor's account, okay? And you can think of it as kind of a river where the professor makes changes upstream, and those are going to flow down into your own repositories, okay? So we need to create configure it to use the upstream repository. And so under CCLE, okay, I have linked, created a link, or that says configure a forked repository to fetch upstream changes. Okay, so this is what we want to do. So you're going to click that thing. Okay, and here are the commands that. Oh, I guess I'm sorry. This is that's a video. Okay, so okay, so sorry. Under the, you're going to click this link. Sorry, fork a repository. Under fork a repository, if you scroll down, it says keep your fork synced. Okay, and what you're going to do is you have to configure. You need to configure it to add an upstream repository. Okay, you got to add the upstream repository. So right now, this is what, if I type in git remote v, okay, that's what I have, right? I typed in git remote v, and this is what I see. I've got sorry, I only have the origin, okay? And so what we need to do is we need to add the upstream repository, okay? So the upstream repository is the one that says Smiles Chen, okay? So you're gonna go back and it's gonna say it was forked from here, and you're gonna click this where it says clone with SSH. You're going to copy this, okay? You're gonna copy this, and you're gonna use that as the cloned repository, or not the cloned, the upstream repository, okay? Okay, so we're gonna type in git remote add, okay? So we have to add a remote upstream. We're gonna do git remote add upstream, and then I paste that address, okay? So this is the key, git remote add upstream, okay? And we paste that address. And now if I check, and if I do git remote -v, okay, we have 4 addresses to see. We've got a fetch and a push for origin, and we have a fetch and a push for upstream. Okay, and so to update this, okay, what I need to do is I need to say git fetch, okay, git fetch, and the key here is I'm going to fetch the upstream changes. Okay, so right now, if I look at my current directory, I don't have the new file that was created, right? So we're going to do git fetch upstream, okay? And so it has git fetch upstream has downloaded the changes, okay, from Smiles Chen, okay? So when you check git remote v, everyone's going to have will have 4, okay? The origin will be your account, but the upstream, everybody's should say Smiles Chen for the professors. Oh, did I mention the, oh, sorry, I have not. Thank you for the reminder, okay? The answers to both questions are E as an elephant. The answers to both questions will be E as an elephant for today's quiz, okay? And sorry, I know I'm going over my time here, but let me just finish this out, okay? So I fetch the upstream changes, and then I'm going to merge them, okay? And we're gonna merge with Upstream Master, okay? So we're gonna merge our repository to Upstream Master, okay? And it says you've created this, you know, these are the changes that have been made, okay? And so if I check here, now indeed we have new.txt, okay? The new changes have been made, okay? And then, and if you check your own forked repository though, on GitHub, new.txt doesn't exist there, okay? Why? Well, the last thing we need to do is we need to push from our local repository to our origin repository, our remote repository. So, so after doing, so these are the steps we do. We fetch the upstream changes. We merge the upstream changes, okay? We do git merge upstream master. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do git push, okay? I hit git push. And the push is complete. And if I refresh my student's GitHub account, okay, then new.txt shows up right here. The professor added a new document to the course repository, and it now shows up here. Okay. All right. This was a lot, and in the beginning, it's gonna feel a little bit annoying that I'm making you guys use Git. Okay. But once you understand these commands and you get a certain command of them, you're going to realize how quickly you are able to fetch changes, right? So, you know, right now, the way we distribute materials is, you know, I upload stuff onto CCLE, and then if you want to save it, you have to like click each one, download it, find it in your downloads folder, and move it over to the correct directory and things like that, okay? What this will allow you to do is just with basically 3 commands, okay? Git fetch upstream, git merge upstream master, and git push, you are going to be able to keep your folders synchronized with all of the changes that I'm making to mine. So if I upload like 5 folders or 5 files onto my thing, you don't have to individually click every single one of those things, save them somewhere on your computer and find them and things like that, okay? You just type in these 3 commands, okay? Git fetch upstream, git merge upstream / master, and git push. And that's going to download all of the changes, merge them into your folder, and then push them to your remote repository itself, okay? And once you get used to it, I think you will, once you gain a familiarity with Git, you will stop resenting it, and you will appreciate all of the just how quickly you are able to update all of the changes. So any changes I make, if I make changes, if I decide to update a certain file later, you're going to be able to keep all of your things working that way, okay? There is a lot to get used to, especially when you're all new to this. And so I've tried to list off all of these steps, and I've given a couple videos here. Step 10 is a video, step 11 is a video kind of showing how these upstream and forked repositories can be kept in sync. And all of these configuration and things I'm hoping should be helpful to you. And we'll see this frequently throughout the course, and my hope is that that you'll get comfortable with it, and you'll be able to keep your files all up to date with the course files as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, but I'll stick around if you guys have further questions, and if not, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys on Monday. And on Monday we'll start looking at some actual Python stuff.
Hi, Professor. I have